Hi guys, it's Totally Silenced, and today I want to talk about my GTX 980 Ti, more importantly an in-depth review. The GM200 chip is absolutely fantastic. I can't believe how powerful this is. I've actually prefer it over my two GTX 970s. I'm actually getting higher frame rates as well. I'm going to go through some of the things now that I disliked about the card, so let's get that out of the way first. Some of the things I didn't like about the card, first of all, obviously it's a reference cooler. I don't like the design of it. I think it's just been used far too much. Even the 600 series basically look the same as this. I think they need a complete new refresh, even a new colour from the silver. Obviously the green's going to probably have to stay, but it's in dire need of something different. And I'm hoping when Pascal comes out that they decide to have a complete refresh, new card, new series name, everything. I think that would be much needed. Also, the blower fan in general, I find it a lot louder. I used to have two GTX 970s, Windforce G1 editions, and they were actually quieter, two of them, than this single card. Obviously, it's probably hitting at a higher fan speed now compared to what the two were, but even so, not a fan of the blower fans. The only problem I have with the blower cooler is the fact that my case temperatures are actually lower, but the card itself is actually running hotter. So it depends what you want from the card as such. I just generally think the design it's getting very old now. One of the key things that I was going to do, I was going to run this card in SLI, so I was going to get a second one, but the problem with that is I found with my 970s is the scaling was not very good. I was having big troubles with scaling. So I've decided to hold off from going for another card, and I'm going to basically wait till DirectX 12 comes out and see how that, or if it sorts out the problem with SLI scaling, because I've seen a lot of benchmarks from my previous cards, the two 970s, and they were actually beating out this single card. But I kind of knew that all the benchmarks that were done that I've seen were done when the 970s were at 99% scaling or 90-ish% scaling on both cards. Now the problem with that was when I was running around in games, I wasn't getting 99% scaling all the time. My average was 60 to 75%. Some games would go up to 80%, and some games did hit 99% sometimes, but it wasn't all the time. And I think a lot of the benchmarks you see out there are unfair and not a real representation of what performance you'll be getting from two 970s in general. Now, some of the things you're going to be able to do with this 980 Ti, especially in SLI, is obviously 4K. Now 4K is very important to a lot of people. It's not actually important to me because I'm a big FPS gamer, and I wouldn't have 60 Hz at 4K. I would much prefer 1440p, 144 Hz, getting high frame rates, the game looking a lot smoother, because to me 60 Hz, it doesn't matter what resolution it is, doesn't look as smooth when I'm playing FPS games. But the card with the power it's got can drive my 1440p ROG Swift to 144 frames per second or thereabouts at 1440p, no problem in most games. In third-person games they're optimized differently, so they're mainly shooting for max graphics at 60 FPS on the latest cards. So obviously you've got a bit of give or take there. Any other game apart from FPS shooters, I'm more than happy with 60 FPS. So that's one reason why this card is perfect for 1440p. Now what I'm definitely going to be doing in the future, and what this card's going to support, probably other cards, but they're not going to have, or previous cards, but they're not going to have as much juice to be able to run it, is the Oculus Rift. Now the Oculus Rift for me is something that I've been wanting for a long time. I've nearly bought a few times the developer kit 1 and the developer kit 2, but obviously I'd rather wait for the consumer version because it's a lot of hassle getting it all working. Now the point being is with the GTX 980 Ti, it's going to be able to quite happily run this, because it is going to be expensive, but I believe that it's going to have two 1440p screens, so it's not far off 4K in resolution terms. So you're going to need quite a beefy card to be able to run this at anywhere near 60 FPS. It's definitely something that I'm going to be implementing to this channel with the Oculus Rift. It's going to be something that I'm definitely going to enjoy with, but that's my point being, is that these cards are absolute beast. They can run literally anything now in 1440p. These cards can run 60 frames per second, 4K, and 1080p I wouldn't even bother. There's just no point. It's complete overkill. Obviously I've talked about the design, obviously I've talked about the performance. I've got loads of performance videos or benchmark videos on my channel, so definitely check them out. I've also talked about the design of it. I've also talked about case temperatures. Now I want to talk about other GTX 980 Ti's that are going to be coming out, and the one that I'm definitely going to be looking to get, well, I probably will sell my reference model and then get this one. It is the Gigabyte G1 Gaming. Now they've designed this fantastic. I had two previous 970s before, which were the G1 Gaming, and I just love the design on them. The backplate is the best backplate I've ever seen. It's like aluminum and or aluminium, and it's got the G1 Gaming logo embossed in it, and really nice card. Very quiet as well, because obviously it's got an extra fans there, so it doesn't have to run at such high RPM. But the new one that's coming out actually has white, oh no, I think it's silver parts on the fan that's been added, and it actually has an RGB logo. So I think that goes red, blue, green, and I think it does white as well. So if you know anything about my channel and about my PC, yeah, I love white and black. So yeah, so I'm definitely going to be getting two of them. Another thing I want to talk to you about is the problems I was having with SLI on my previous cards. Now there are a lot of benchmarks and there are a lot of in-depth reports where you can read about this, and a lot of people that run SLI don't necessarily notice it, and I'm the same myself. I never noticed it until I went to a single card, because when you're running two cards, as soon as you take out one card or switch SLA off, your performance is halved, so you're getting a lower frame rate, so you don't necessarily notice it. But when I went to a card that had the same single card that had the same power as my two cards before, I really noticed it. It was a lot more obvious to me. And what the problem is called frame timing. And the problem with frame timing is SLI setups, because they're rendering a frame each, they're a bit more erratic, let's say. And frame timing's measured in milliseconds, and if it's off slightly, if it's going up and down, there are benchmarks where you can watch about this online on YouTube on SLI setups. It can be perceived as a stutter or a micro stutter, so everything doesn't seem very smooth. For example, if you're running 100 FPS in a game, that could be perceived as literally 70 FPS on an SLI setup. If you're running that same performance on a single card, 100 FPS would feel like 100 FPS, and that is what the main thing that I noticed going from SLI to a single card. Okay guys, well I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've really enjoyed it myself, talking about my 980 Ti. Absolutely fantastic card. I can't recommend it enough. If you want to wait out, I would personally wait out for obviously a custom one, the G1 Gaming. There's MSI one coming out, there's EVGA one, there's a hybrid one as well that's coming out, which is obviously water cooled with a 100mm fan, which is definitely something that I may actually get as well, because if I got two of them with 220mm fans locked, would look very beasty. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching guys. I'm going to have more benchmarks coming up about the 980 Ti soon. I'm going to do benchmarks again of the games that I've already done on DirectX 12 to see how much performance has been increased, so definitely stay tuned for that. I probably will get SLI at some point, as long as it's sorted out by DirectX 12, which I think it will. I got my fingers crossed, so I'll be doing more benchmarks then as well, so that will be good. And then hopefully fairly soon Oculus Rift time as well. So there's a lot going on with this channel. There's a lot going to be happening in the future, so stay tuned. So thank you very much for watching guys. I've been totally silent. Cheers.